responsible.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We'll accept the motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes of January 22nd. Anyone have any issues?
Motion to approve.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Public comment. I'll make my own announcement and welcome David Callahan to the commission till the election at least, and hopefully beyond. He is on now, right, Andrew? You just sworn in for both. It kind of goes okay.
You've been down and raised your hand.
Yeah, he did all that. I checked and made sure he did that the other day.
He doesn't have to.
I just wanted to make
switch
sure
swearing in
that
on the
I don't think you have to do both.
No.
You're
Because
automatic.
you automatically are here.
Yeah, I didn't ask that the other day. Okay, so Mike, the state rail plan, even though we don't have rail anymore, 101 years ago, but this is something to do with us. You explained it to me the other day. I thought that was very interesting. So
No, and
You got that.
If you look at the maps on page 23, it shows the existing service. I'm sorry, I'll try to zoom in on some of this to make the
We talked
points.
about this last year.
yeah.
This is a public comments are due on the statewide rail plan by March 2nd, and two comments that I thought NPDC ought to consider that I thought may impact Nantucket. The first deals with rail upgrades on Cape Cod from the bridge to the Hyannis terminal, which would facilitate faster service on the Cape. And it should be included in this plan just to document it. And that's, from the bridge. This section right here, the train crawls through this section.
It's not great there.
It's not great. And
And this is the flyer, the one they call the flyer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for any type of, it goes
Even though
as
it's
fast as
crawling,
it can,
they
it's
call
just
it
crawling.
flying.
And-
Well, it has to go slow because the club car, all the drinks would spill because the cars rock so much on that track.
Is that what it is?
Well, plus, it's only Fridays coming down and Sundays going
Going
back.
back.
It doesn't really work well. It's twice.
Yeah.
Twice on Friday, twice on Sunday.
Right, so to help facilitate the lack of spilling of drinks, the rails need to be upgraded to allow for a faster vehicle, more stable vehicle as it goes to that area. So that's probably included in the plan. It's been mentioned numerous times, it just wasn't included in this plan. So one comment could be that. And the second comment is the rail connection between Providence and Hyannis.
There isn't
Right now,
one.
there's really no connection there.
Yeah.
And that's just really the only reason for having this is better connection to the New Jersey, New York, Connecticut area
Yeah.
to get to Hyannis. And that's just good for our tourism, another option for people to get to Nantucket. So I thought those two comments were warranted and may help inform their plan.
There was a rail line there at one point. I don't know what happened to it.
It's being repurposed now for bike.
Rails to trails?
Yeah, but
Do you need a motion for that?
I would ask if.
So to support what, though?
Those 2 points.
Those 2 points.
Expanding rail
Okay.
service and making it better. Is that your motion?
The 2 items, the upgrade the tracks between the canal and Hyannis and look into
Improve service.
establishing a rail connection to Providence.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Are you thinking?
Yeah.
Those opposed?
And where did it come? Did
Yeah.
it come in Middleborough? Or did it come right across? Or does anyone know?
It'll come across where remember Buzzards Bay has
little-
that rail track?
thing, that's where they
That
go.
raised
so
up
it
and
came-
down
so
rail
it came
track.
all
It
the
used
way
to
down.
come all the way like Route 1.
It still comes that way.
It does.
That's
It
how it
goes
came
over that
on.
thing in Bourne.
Goes over that same bridge.
Down in
Buzzards Bay.
Buzzards Bay.
Okay, so it came all the way down. Huh.
Yeah.
So it goes down the canal again. And then
You used to
back
be able to go
over.
all the way onto the Cape with a rail from New York.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay. Mike,
100
so
years ago.
What are we, as far as the public review period, are we ready to approve anything, or are we still waiting?
It's still going, isn't it?
Still waiting on the amendment to this current year's
Yeah.
tip for the milestone road improvements. That hasn't been finalized just yet. I'll note, just on that one project, that the public hearing is scheduled for March 27th at 2 o'clock. That's a Tuesday.
That's a Tuesday.
Tuesday in March.
Okay.
What time is that again, Mike?
2 to 4 o'clock.
In here, I
Is that
assume?
a meeting of, who, what is that? Is
DOT.
it us, or is that just public comment period?
Just
Okay.
public comment.
All right.
On
March what, 21?
27th.
Now, is that including
Tom Nevers.
the Tom Never little thing
We don't know yet, do we?
and the double lines and some of the stuff that was in the bidder?
The plan that will be presented at that meeting will likely be the current one, although our concerns have been communicated. So I would just ask if that's still a concern to reiterate it. And there may be comments back from the engineer that, yes, they've looked at it and it has been verified that the site distance would not be improved, so that they're trying to they would rescope the improvements at that intersection.
Okay.
Include probably just improvements to the crossing. Have the forwarding panels and ramps.
When you meet with people like this, Mike,
We met with him the other day.
meaning people that come and look at these things, do you tell them what's been done? Like, for example, that bus stop used to be like on the road, and they moved it off, and then they have the one at Bean Hill that was sort of
It's all on the
goes over
plan.
all that stuff. I'm just curious, making sure that those things get explained.
No, we actually.
Because it was way worse before,
No,
even though it's not great.
We talked about it in a small group.
Yeah,
Okay.
in a small group, we actually got a van. The police department was kind enough to provide a high-capacity van where I believe it was 8 of us
Oh, okay.
piled in.
Cool.
And stories like that were told, trivia
Yeah.
and other things.
Okay. All right, so,
You don't need a vote on that,
No.
right?
Uh,
There's no vote on this one. It's just FYI, correct?
Correct. The 2019 to 20, for the 2019 to 2023 TIP, I'll just note that there are 3 projects that were submitted and are included in an out year for the. Does it have a project name? Okay. The Surfside Bartlett Road roundabout, what you all know about,
Yep.
is included as a potential future project. Once that design is preliminary, that'll be programmed into ideally the 2019 fiscal year for the TIP. But until we get to some kind of threshold, we have to list it for 2020. The other 2 projects that were mentioned to Mass DOT for consideration for the TIP were the Milestone Rotary improvements and I'm sorry. Turn this side.
Mike, why is the Milestone so expensive when we already have a rotary? I'm curious, not to be, no,
It's purely just
Yeah.
material.
just,
And quite honestly, once you go through the engineering and you can quantify the actual material of
It's-
asphalt, sub-base, once that's quantified, then you'll have a more refined estimate.
Okay.
But right now, they scope, it's for office purposes, it's
Okay.
scoped out if it was a brand new rotary.
okay, okay.
So that intersection of the Nobody or Milestone Road is the other one that was discussed with Mass DOT as a potential TIP project.
Okay.
Are we on to the
So the UPWP now, Mike?
Yes, and on page 45, there's the financials for the UPWP. Nantucket this year will get $269,544 for the UPWP operations. This is a slight increase from this past year. And for next month's meeting, I'll actually have a work program that divides that funding up based on different tasks, such as data collection, studies, and other implementation efforts that would use those funds.
Okay.
So no action for this just yet, just informative, so that you know what the value of that program.
So you look across the top, it's saying 40% of total, so part of it's on population, part of it's on urbanized population, right, the last one. 40% of total funds, MPOs, what does that mean?
Those are the big regions, the metropolitan planning organizations,
Okay.
the Worcesters, the Bostons, and such. We're in this last 3, Franklin, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket. We basically get what's left over after those funds are given to the bigger regions.
Right.
And
We should be
So
an
so
honor.
40% of it, so that you're basically saying 40% isn't even population-based, it's your big region, so you get more than the little guys. Then you go to the other 2 things.
it's population employment and miles of public way that they use as a
In that, for that
rationale.
total.
Correct.
And then the other 2 are population and urbanized population.
To some effect, yeah. So no action on that, but I will switch over to the next page in the, is the current year's work program. This is just some reallocation of funds. Typically, I come to just to inform the commission about if certain tasks are going over budget, they need to be reallocated to other tasks. So this is just to let you know that I'm taking time from the TIP program and from special transportation studies, which is a general catch-all item, and then special transportation planning assistance was a general catch-all, and moving those items to parking management and to GIS, which is taking a little bit more time than anticipated at the beginning of the year. So this is just informative, and this is what I'm going to be submitting to the state for reallocation. But just for instance, you'll see that we have a budget of 230 this year compared to the 269 for next year. So that just gives you a magnitude of what the budget's increasing next year.
Okay. So,
You don't need to vote on that, do you?
This is just informative
Okay.
as well, unless you object to anything being reallocated.
no,
No.
good. Okay, so you want to,
Is there anything in here before I don't want to go through all of this. Is there anything in here, Andrew, that is a planning
commission concern?
So, page 48 is the summary that the articles that I've flagged that I think may be of planning concern. There's others, or if I pick some that you don't think are, so strike those. But quickly, we could start, Article 15 is the Old South Area Transportation Improvements that came from the commission. I think obviously that's a planning concern, and you want to support that.
Do you want us to vote on these individually, that we are,
Yeah, why
we're
don't
in
you do that,
support
and
of
we
them?
can sort of tick them off.
Even though it won't be in the warrant, it'll be,
No, these are for general,
Just-
I mean,
yeah.
again, for us
We
to
already-
communicate to other boards and
Yeah.
commissions as we talked about.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll make a
exactly.
motion to support the Old South Road transportation improvements in Article 15.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'll make a motion to support Sparks Avenue sidewalk improvements. Is way overdue.
Yep, and that's
Article
the,
19.
and that's the whole thing, right, Mike? All the way.
From the school
I'm
down.
going to say yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Second.
is there a second? Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Zoning articles, you usually just pass that to the planning board and support their vote.
I'll make that
Unless there's
motion.
any in particular that you want to discuss.
There's only 13 of them from us.
Support the planning board's motions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll make that
okay.
motion.
Is there a second?
For all the zoning articles?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
How did the planning board vote on the
Take-
Glowacki property? And how did they vote on the two that I thought,
The Appleton, we take no action.
and that's
And that's
Glowacki?
Article
That's not
50.
Glowacki.
I mean, I know, no, I said
What
Appleton.
do you mean by Glowacki?
He means
The
the
one on the
turning.
corner of the airport.
He means
Yeah,
the
how did they-
land.
We definitely voted in favor of that.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how did they vote on the NIR property next to the Boys Club?
It's still in discussion, but it's not, the board's not supportive of the whole property becoming one or the other. There's a reduced area that we're looking at, so which would essentially keep Cherry Street residential, and then there's Bear Street residential, but focus the commercial towards the corner.
To the front of it, of the property.
That
Towards
actually,
Pleasant.
that one and one more are coming up on our special meeting
one
on
at-
the 20th.
the one at the
Because we want
parts
a more
store.
defined
Yeah.
map.
Yeah,
on that
okay.
The one at the pot store, and we wanted a map on the wetlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, both of them are coming up on the 20th. We have two coming up on the 20th, right?
Yep.
So you have to finish.
And as far as the Glowacki article, there's still some additional discussion.
On those.
that needs to go through on that.
All right, well, then I'm abstaining on both of those till I know what the result is. But I'll support the others.
Sewer?
Okay. Eleanor, are you okay with that? Do you understand what Matt said?
He's
Kind of.
abstaining on both of those articles.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. All right, the sewer, Andrew.
Which one is 54?
I forgot which one that is.
Sewer was discussed by the selectmen, acting as the sewer commissioners last night. And they voted to approve the recommendation from the reviewing committee
Oh, Hawthorne.
54, the citizen of Hawthorne, which is in a needs area. 55, which is Folger, also in the Mycomb needs area. One in Sconset was reviewed, that's near their wellhead, and then 57 is just a duplicate included within the area of 56.
Oh, good. So they were in favor of all three of these?
All three of these were, they were in favor.
Great.
So
I'll
we
make a
would,
motion to support that.
54, 55.
But 57 is no action because it's a duplicate.
I'll make a motion to support 54, 55, 56.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? I think Linda means support the sewer commission vote, right?
Whoever.
Yeah, right.
Whoever made the initial
Yeah.
support, which
Okay.
is BOS or whoever.
All right.
Article 60 is a citizen article. It's an environmental resolution regarding offshore oil and gas. This is actually a timely article. I met at the Ocean Plan meeting last week, and there is some federal action to start opening up areas offshore.
South of Tuckernuck, isn't it?
What's that?
South of Tuckernuck, isn't it?
No, this is, basically, this is a much, it's sort of a
Oh, no, I
reversal
got this
of
one.
environmental
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think the state's all over this also.
there's different regions, and the New England region is one of the regions that would come up fairly quickly. So I think, in the past, we've taken positions against opening these areas back up. And so I think it is a planning concern. I think you will be hearing more news on this as it comes about. I mean, not that our vote maybe is all that important, but I think that it's a good thing to speak up about early.
Well, Florida's suing, aren't they? North Carolina, one of those. They're going all the way up the East Coast. They're all getting motivated.
There's all areas of the coast.
I'll make a motion to support the
Article.
To support
because
this.
it's got no teeth, but I'll support the article, saying, say we're on board with this.
So we don't look like Santa Barbara.
Is there a second?
Look
I'll
at
second
night.
it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gotta have oil and gas, just so you know.
That doesn't mean we have offshore drilling on our beaches all the way from Florida up here.
Okay.
And only his buddies don't have it.
Oh, okay. All
You
right.
gotta keep that employed. You need
I'm
gas at
just-
least.
Why is it okay in the Gulf? All right, so go
It's a
ahead.
totally different issue.
Articles 63 and 64 are citizen articles that would
Also not
propose
open
to
ocean.
discontinue the project next door here at 6 Fairgrounds Road.
Town council's
The council
already
has reviewed these and basically said that they are, at least the moratorium is illegal, it's not proposed as an article under zoning. And the other articles expose the town to certain financial risk, considering RP is an issue and other things. So
I'll make a
Cover
motion.
is here to
I'll make a motion to oppose, strenuously oppose these articles.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. Yep. Okay, Andrew, is this a Mike or an Andrew?
Well, Article 66, parking benefit district, Mike can talk about this.
No, this is to authorize the Board of Selectmen to set a district to capture revenues generated from parking fees, that those fees be expended within those districts, is to establish some kind of authority to manage the district and create a fund that authority would manage.
Okay.
So how would that work, Mike?
I don't know what they're doing with the money, that's my problem.
Well, the money will go to transportation costs. It'll go to the NRTA, it'll go to bike paths and buses and fixing sidewalks. It can go to all those types of uses.
It
So
could,
they'd have,
Matt,
you'd have to pay
but it
for
doesn't say
parking
that.
downtown?
Well, there is only, make an explain, there's only, it has to go to those certain things. It
Yeah.
can't go into the general fund or anything.
Yeah,
That's what
Chapter
I'm worried
40,
about.
Section 22A has a very narrow, statutorily the money can only be spent on certain things, has a nexus towards parking or providing options to alleviate the demand for parking, such as public transportation. It goes as wide as marketing of what those options are. But if there's no nexus to create parking or to alleviate the demand for parking, then that's a misuse of those funds according to the statute.
Is it basically transportation and mobility related?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So it could be used to pay for the shuttle van from the parking lot to the boats and.
You can expand this
Parking right
shuttle.
improvements.
Parking lot.
Expand this shuttle to
It could be this
later.
shuttle, it could pay for
Later
parking
and earlier
garage.
here.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
problem with this thing. I'd use it if it went later.
Exactly, so it can pay, it's an income stream to pay for all those things when, you know, when we get that figured out.
Okay, so,
I'll make a motion to support this.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
But Matt, be prepared, you're gonna have to be a little more specific on town meeting floor. They don't want any more money going into the black hole
Yep,
that isn't spent for what we're being charged for.
yep, and neither do I.
Okay.
But who's in that black hole getting all
Andrew,
the money?
and, Tucker,
Oh, I could tell you that, but
you
Yeah,
guys on this article?
Article
70.
70, the community housing.
it's just re-upping.
Oh, this is going back to.
Yeah,
to
it's
approval.
re-upping if they don't get approved.
Okay, never mind, sorry, I forgot about
So
that.
don't rehash that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to support it again.
is that,
This is 70?
this is
Yeah.
to go back to
It's
the
putting
state.
it back in again if it doesn't get passed by July.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
71 is the affordable housing, this is a covenant provision that allows an inter-family transfer, so the zoning bylaws were passed.
Didn't that get
That's also
approved yet?
up there,
There's two separate things.
but it's also up
The
there.
zoning bylaw portion has passed, so that is available, but it's not activated until the home rule petition passes.
We have to put it up again.
This is really important.
So I'll make a motion to put,
Okay.
to support it again.
Yep. Is there a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Andrew,
So, home rule petitions related to real estate, on Article 72, and they're related to the real estate conveyances identified 76 to 80. So, Article 72 is basically
I typed this.
intra-open space transfer. So these parcels are already protected open space parcels. This authorizes them to be conveyed, doesn't require it. And there's some different other parcels that, or other rights that we're talking to these groups about. So you may remember we just finished, we've done a long discussion about a transfer between the school and the land bank. We waited for home rule petitions to pass. We're trying to get this done so it's out of the way in the event that we have something to talk about.
I'll make a motion to support this.
absolutely. Is there a
So are you supporting 72 and 76 for 80?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
So 70, did you get 70?
We got all of them all the way to 80.
Oh, you did, okay.
I put the 72 and 76 for 80.
Yeah,
Yep.
So 73, 74, 75, we need to talk about those?
no.
No, we just have 72 through 80.
No, you did not. It was 72 and then you said 76 through 80.
Well, I think
Oh,
that's
I
what
thought
she
it was
thought.
72 to 80.
I think that's what,
Yeah.
The other ones are a little different, just so you're aware. 73 is land, authorizing the last pieces of county land to the town.
Right.
There's three of those. 74 is a conveyance that the cemetery commission has requested on Fulton Road. So they're exchanging a piece of land that's basically up against property and has a
Pulpus Road
little
Cemetery.
encroachment with another property of the same area. And then 75 is authorizes the conveyance of a portion of the water company property where the two roundabouts are proposed. So those require home rule.
I typed them all. So I'm still making that motion on those three.
okay, is there a second?
4, 3, 4, 5, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
The last one is Article 87, that is citizen article submitted by
Bamber.
Amber.
It's the same article that was in before that I put in. and it was that land behind the airport.
These are remaining industrially zoned real estate owned by the town
Was-
in the area that was cleared off of Industry Road and Shadbush Road. So it's where these are lots. I think you all know the tank farm site has been established. So these are the remaining parcels that don't have any identified use. This is an authorization for lease only, so this is not for sale. And again, it's an authorization for the Board of Selectmen to enter into these leases that might exceed 5 years.
As opposed to the airport commission.
Which isn't playing ball with anybody right now.
The Airport Commission is totally separate property.
They've got separate properties, okay.
Yep, which none of them can afford.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to support this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
One question on that, Andrew. It may exceed 5 years, maximum term specified in Chapter 46. What is the maximum term?
I believe it's 99.
All right.
Yep.
Well, I will show you I will not vote for 99 years.
No,
But
we'll not be all here at that
Yeah, I think
point.
it should be 5 years or,
Yeah, that's
somewhat
good.
short.
They're fine,
Yeah.
so long as there's some place for Bamber and Willett and Factor Caher and the rest of them to go at a reasonable rate, which some of the guys are paying 89 cents a square foot, which they can afford.
Yeah, exactly.
Not 3, not 211, which is where it is now.
And again, this is an authorization. I know that town administration is putting together maybe some a program to manage some of this. Right, I think in this year's budget,
It's talked about. I don't think, it's not there yet, but
it's
yeah.
not there yet. But
I mean, you do it as like you do the concessions. The lease is the lease. It's not, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Or you have 10 of them, you put them out to bid. And
Yeah,
you take
and
the
it's
10
not reinventing the wheel.
Exactly.
But they can get smaller pieces from the town as opposed to
airport-
having to do an acre and a
No, but the
2
airport
acre.
is now chopping up their.
Because
acres.
this is in here, that's
Are
why.
they?
Yeah, they're talking about.
But they're
that.
still too expensive
They
for most of the
should-
guys.
They should have sublease.
Only one guy got one.
I know.
And he's only doing it for a couple of years and he's retiring.
I know, and the airport, but the airport needs the money too, so they need to.
Well, that's
chop
great,
it,
but that's not at the expense of all the commercial guys that are running out of space and had to get kicked
No,
out
no,
of
not-
Klusulik, kicked out of Glowacki, kicked out of
I understand.
everywhere.
I understand.
You know where they are? We know where they are. Yep.
All right. All right. So thank you all for that. Other committee reports. I actually have something I want to say that I talked to Mike about the other day. The embarkation fee of commuter books is going to happen.
What?
What do you mean it's gonna happen?
We're going to get charged on
Yeah.
commuter books now?
Yeah, but they're going to eat it for the first year because of the timing of the schedules and the
When
printing.
are those up?
Well,
Are they coming?
It's actually good news, though, because it needs to happen, because the attorney for the steamship, who's retiring, and that's going to be a bad situation because he knows too much, like a lot of people that have been around for a long time. He knows everything.
Knows all the
He's very
skeletons.
concerned about the state saying, well, what about the last 10 years?
10 years or what?
Or whatever,
To
right?
get their chunk of it.
Right, because there was never a charge, and they were fine. It's weird. Like, I can't believe it. I was like floored by this last week at the meeting, a week before, whenever the meeting was, and I was like, okay, this came out okay. So there will be more money, and the Highline already knows what's going on because they do the same thing. So, so I don't know what that means, Mike, but you have the chart, and you kind of know how it all. I bet that's another 150. I'm guessing.
So-
$5 a book.
From 300 to about 450.
I'd say so. I mean, I don't know.
Where's that money supposed to go?
Yeah. Over, right
Don't get
here,
into all
right here,
that.
right
That's
here.
a separate discussion. I'm just saying.
And that's another discussion. It all goes right
I'm saying
here.
it for
Because
the.
that's correct.
Literally in the
Well,
building.
but here's the other thing we could do. This board could make a recommendation that it go to year-round bus service
I
or
think
something else.
that's why I
Or
brought
something
it up.
else, other than
Because
right here,
I
where it's
think-
not supposed to go, and
I
that's not
think-
why we voted on
I
it.
think that.
I know.
Okay.
We haven't
Then you
even
guys
got
gotta do
done with
something.
FinCom for this year yet.
People were stunned
But
when they
next
found out
year,
where it was going.
I know.
maybe there can be discussions, Matt, selectmen's level, to get this sort of pulled away from where it's going now and maybe into something like
That's
downtown
relevant.
parking, other stuff.
Sidewalks,
related to
handicap
downtown.
I
accessibility,
started
whatever.
all those conversations when I was at FinCom 10 years ago, so
Yeah.
I know.
You know
They'll
where it's
come
going.
back.
I know, it was all,
When
you
are-
had
when
to
are
pull
these
it
books
from
up
10
this
different
year?
places.
What's the dates are up this year? When are
What?
they going to be selling those books this year?
2 weeks before, oh,
It's
you
like
could ask me.
it's the week
Just-
before
it-
taxes are due, right?
It's March 5th, no, the boat comes on April 1st now,
Oh, I
April
thought- I
2nd,
thought you were talking
something
about
like that.
They sell the commuter books.
Two
No,
weeks
that's what he's trying to
before-
answer.
2 weeks before the fast boat comes on, it's the
March
discount.
15th or something.
Yeah, just figure in that area.
Like
Okay.
the 15th
I
of
don't know
April or
exactly
March?
what the date is.
March,
I
2 weeks
forgot.
before that comes on board on the 1st
Yes,
of
you gotta
April.
go.
April
Wendy,
Fool's Day.
Thanks,
take care,
Wendy.
Okay?
Perfect day, April Fool's. Okay, anything else? We have something else.
Okay.
We have something else.
What was the other thing?
Under other business?
Yes, no, I know that. I'm just
I
saying,
wanted to update.
is there anything else? Anyone else have any committee reports or something?
I can just, I'll go
Sure.
quick. So the Board of Selectmen's done strategic planning. We've done three or four sessions now. I'll say I was a little bit, I was kind of like, what is going to come from this? But the last session, I think, it shows that the board's more online than with each other than not. The process is fairly interesting, and I think there might be better direction coming out from the board or from Libby, and better unity between the board and Libby to other boards, and so it might improve communication, which would be very helpful. So that was one. South Shore Road, and we worked on the environment transportation on the last, and sort of came up with goals for 3 years, and we have to put the details underneath that. But it was a pretty interesting process. South Shore Road, we voted to oppose with a 5-0 letter.
And you got the letter in today?
We got the letter in today, Tucker. Did we get the letter today?
We did get the letter.
All right, Tucker is still employed.
He's still employed.
The letter is in. Congratulations, Tucker. You're
Right committee.
It made it.
so the how do I say it? I basically responded to every single person, and they weren't particularly happy with me, but I was saying we have to sort of ask for what we want in this, and we're not, we can't think we can just stop it. And I think a lot of the people had the misconception that we could actually just stop this thing, and I don't think we can, but we could hopefully direct it and make it better. So
Yeah.
I hope that's what comes from it, but we will see. And I would like to, the things I would like to see, I'd like to see less density. I don't really like apartments buildings there myself.
I'd like the apartment buildings to disappear.
Yep, I would too, but who knows?
Condos, it's
Yeah,
good.
and then,
No
and the board has to
apartment
vote,
buildings
or
at all.
the zoning board has to vote on that. And I think there should be more tiers of
I don't care how they're owned.
affordability.
Right.
Because if you have 25% and 75, then you're just, one of the neighbors wrote that you're like a hamster on a wheel, and you kind of are. You'll never catch up.
Right.
So I think if we could get some more levels of affordability, and then build something that the guys doing it are proud of, and that we all end up being proud of, and the neighbors are proud of, then we've set the right example. And so that's sort of my hope, is that in this process, that will happen. Who knows? Tacoma Green has been sued, as you all know.
Richmond's been sued.
Yeah, and so and Richmond sued Tacoma Green. They voted 4-0 the other day to support them, and I don't know quite the details, but support the legal. I missed the meeting. I was off coming back. Their issue, the sewer was updated. The sewer, they found one big hole. In the plastic pipe, the inside liner, there was one hole that came out that then broke the other two sides of the clay, or what is it?
Well, Union
Cast
Street's not
iron.
having
Yeah,
a good
cast iron.
That's
the
an
cast
iron
iron.
pipe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Union
so they-
Street's not having a good day today.
I know, but it looks preliminarily, it looks like it might be usable by this summer. It doesn't look like one of the options was an overland pipe, which it blew me away. But it was $5 million to own it, $6 million to rent it. So if this pipe can't be fixed, we would have to put an overland pipe like the one that ran along.
The C Street all the way to Surfside?
If this can't be fixed, that was one of the
Not
options.
going past our house on Union Street,
What's that? No, they were talking
care where
about
you
running
put
it
it.
by your house out in the Badlands,
There's no
actually.
choice to
They're
run
gonna
it
dump
down
in the
there.
woods in the Badlands.
That is
behind your
where all
house.
the force mains come right past our house, so that's to be expected.
No, but so fingers crossed that that's what happens. And then they are still wanting us that the capacity of the pumps and/or of the pipes themselves, faced with everything that we have going on here and everything we've added.
All the pressure.
All the pressure and all the additional we've added, it looks like we're going to need probably one more pipe from downtown to out of there, which.
But isn't David
Easements are
removing?
going to be a nightmare.
But David's plan, to take out a lot of the flow that's already going downtown is going to help alleviate C Street and head it to Manny's instead.
It is.
It's on the warrant.
That
Sparks Ave.
Yeah, he's going
thing.
to take some of the flow from here and run it
Yeah.
a different direction.
Yeah.
That should help.
Yeah.
Just
Because
go
everything
back.
in town is already in town. There isn't like new houses in town.
But there, the interesting part there is, and a lot of it is now. There's more. It's infill, and there's more than. And
But there's water being taken out.
there,
And then when they figure out what to do with the new discovery up in the Delaney area, wow, that's going to take a lot of water out when it rains.
What about the Delaney area?
There's catch basins going
And tied
directly into
into
the
the
sewer.
Oh,
Just
Ours did.
hooked up,
No, they-
like
well,
for years.
The town did it in our front yard. They put a town drain in our
But
front
I'm
yard
just-
up there.
But that was, nobody knew that
100
until.
years ago.
but we went and smoke tested all this 15 years ago. Took it all out, and within a week, within a year, a lot of it was all back up again.
They had
So-
to put ours back up because they flooded our
I mean,
house.
whatever, understood. But all I'm saying is, some of this, some of the big stuff is going to help, but then people are putting some of it back in. So that it's an ongoing issue, but it's a lot of money. The biggest one, sort of surprising me, is the discussion of the water. And in the letter on the South Shore, that brought some of that to light. We're in the, Wannacomit's in the midst of getting their amount of water updated. You can take up to X amount out of the aquifer.
Right.
You have to have permission to do that. Is 11% recharge or so. We're at 5. They might let us go to 7 or 8, but there's some severe concerns that Wannacomit about whether the state will give it and whether we'll be able to continue at the pace and the numbers. The numbers that are coming in, there were 230 connections last year. That was just connections, water connections. Didn't count wells. So we were at like 300 last year,
Yeah.
and we're adding 500 here and 400 there, and so Mark is
156
worried about
there.
the extent. He said even if we get into his, and they're examining this now. How can you adopt the right thing so you're using less flow and you're doing the right stuff, and then how also can you impact it so that you don't get in that situation. I don't know if people know it. There's 3 levels. There's three
Yeah.
levels, and the first 2 recharge. The bottom one doesn't. You start taking the water out of the bottom level, and it doesn't recharge. You don't get it back. So it's an interesting situation. They're looking at it. I don't think there's reason to be to panic yet.
Well, that'll
But
impact
I
the
think it
one
may be.
back.
What's that?
That'll impact 156 units out there.
But Matt, the water situation is kind of a double-edged. We have plenty of water. It's the pumping, the storage, and the state. We have plenty of water.
Well,
We know that we do. We have plenty of water.
We're finding out
Can't
whether
do
we
the
do.
flow.
The
No, I'm
interesting
talking
part.
about
Matt-
in the ground.
No,
Not
that's-
talking about the pipes.
Well, this is where we need the facts,
Yeah.
Nat, because
Some
we're all operating on we have plenty of water,
We don't.
and we may not.
We don't.
At the level we're starting to draw it, and there may be other things we have to do to enable that we continue to have plenty of water. That's all. I think that's and I think that some of those types of things may want to be the things that are as these examinations come, we may want to talk to here about how to get some of those things into process now, so it doesn't become an issue later. I mean, I think we're smarter to be proactive than to pretend that we're okay, is my take on it.
There's only so much we have.
Well, there needs to be an analysis and a geological.
Yeah, and there will,
And there was one already in 1980, and we know what it said,
Yeah,
even
I
though
know.
no one's ever put it in the paper.
No, and I've read that, but it's sort of, and all I'm saying is that I think you don't want to we don't want to just. It's sort of like when the whole thing happened on Old South Road, everyone
Water's
said we'd
coming
never
out of
be
the same
backed up
ground
like we
as the
were,
well at
everything would be
Nantucket.
fine. Everyone ignored it and wanted to say there was no issue here and this consultant was wrong. and we're now widening Old South Road.
Because they don't,
So
the
there you just have
consultants
to.
don't see what we see in a
understand.
practical use.
I
They
understand.
come and they stick up a traffic thing on South Shore Road in the middle of February. Okay.
Count cars.
I mean,
I-
they don't
Well-
actually see how they queue up
Yeah.
a lot of times. They count them, I see your little clicker every
That
once
needs
in a
to be
while.
around.
But they don't really see how they queue up after they hit that clicker. What exactly happens at these intersections.
All right.
You took my pen.
Who's paying for all this sewer work? I mean, what percentage is the town?
Oh,
That's a big
But
question.
right now, most of it's coming out of the sewer fund, is
Yeah.
my understanding.
Never
They're applying to the state, hoping that there's some emergency money, but there's no guarantee. And we had, last night even, we had, under the contracts, a lot of it was sewer stuff, and it was $500,000, or, and the fixing, we're at 2.7 just to do what's going on now. So these are major numbers. The selectmen have received 2 or 3 letters from sort of older people saying they're very concerned and they're scared about how they're going to pay for things. And so, I think, and their taxes have gone up, which we haven't seen that much, but we're starting to see a little of that. So I think we're at an interesting point, and we need to really be thinking about it.
Right, I mean, it's always going to come back to all the other sewer projects.
Yep.
Funding.
One of my concerns is in the sewer world is are we like so busy going out that we haven't fixed the core part of it,
Right.
and we may have to turn our attention to make sure that the core is solid before we keep going.
all the II attention,
Yeah.
infiltration, inflow, whatever.
Yep.
That's all gravity, though.
Yep.
This is pressure main. We never talked about pressure main
Force mains.
and force mains being like,
How old?
old and
Yeah.
whatever. That's never come up until recently. So I don't know what to say about that. I look at them 2 different things.
Well,
You
they
can
are.
leave the old pipes with water leaking in, isn't flooding the harbor, or isn't causing all this kind of a problem. This is a whole different story. So
Well, I've been in the Badlands for 35 years, and those force mains have run past my house all that time, and it's never been dug up. It's never been replaced. They put one new force main in over those, somewhere around there. But there's been nothing going on there.
well, it's the year. It's what material was available then. Now,
Yeah.
if it gets put in today, it never has to get fixed. It's that
Old
1930
stuff, the
to
orange stuff,
whatever
stuff.
is
Not
different.
now lifetime.
Well, no, the new stuff doesn't have an issue.
It's not
So, anyway,
The old stuff is terrible.
all right. So,
I have some other business.
okay. So staff reports. There's nothing, I'm sure, for that. So, other
Okay.
business.
This was unforeseen by the chairman, 48 hours in advance, since we all saw it this morning.
Just talk a little louder, I can't hear you next to you.
I'm talking about
You talked to Mike?
the editorial, front page article, but the editorial. Leslie and Andrew work for us. Has anybody seen the editorial today? Anybody read it?
Let me get my paper.
Yep.
Okay, read it. Leslie got roasted, toasted, and strung up. And most of the information included in the editorial, she'll probably go against me on the planning board now, but most of the stuff that was in the editorial, if not all of it, is actually incorrect and was probably perpetrated by a couple of members of our staff. They work for us. They're under contract to us. Frankly, I think it requires a response in the paper on behalf of the Planning Commission about the things that were alleged in that editorial today. I believe, Andrew, it said she should be suspended or sensitivity training or something along those lines. Sensitivity training, it was very harsh. If anybody, who has read it? We've read it. Andrew's read it. It was, I have never seen anything like it, frankly, where they went after a town employee based on hearsay and innuendo and outright lies.
Fake news.
I'm not going to go there. Against a person that works for this commission. She's not under contract to the town. Andrew's not under contract to the town. They're under contract to us. And it was egregious enough for the Planning Commission to support our staff and send something to the newspaper in the form of a letter. Now, we're sort of hampered by the fact that most of you have not seen it.
Well, it's also confidential, a lot of the information.
We don't have to go into
Yeah, I know.
personnel issues, but we need to support her position as a representative of this commission, as somebody who is running against the tide, apparently, for some of the employees. It's not right. It's bad. So my point of bringing it up now is that we stand up for our staff. We correct the record as much as we can without violating personnel restrictions and confidentiality, unlike the people who perpetrated the information, who went ahead and violated the personnel confidentiality. We can do it tactfully, but we need to say something to support our staff. We cannot let it go.
Who wrote the article? Mary Ann? or-
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know.
We know what
it's pretty-
happened,
it's
but we
pretty,
can't say it here.
It's pretty amazing, actually, to see that.
Yeah,
in writing.
I was flummoxed by it.
When it's hearsay, when it's not, you know, you're not 100% no, you're right.
The old three
Yeah,
independent
it's pretty
sources
crazy.
doesn't apply.
And we know who the
to-
sources were. The problem is they never called Leslie or Andrew for their contact, for their take on it, knowing pretty much that they can't violate personnel confidentiality. But they opened that door by backdooring it at the paper.
I agree with what they're saying. I think that, you know, with Andrew, and to go back to the Plus agreement, August of 2012, the last straw of what caused that agreement to happen, something that, you know, never was in the paper, but it was an issuance of a CO of a really important project downtown that was going to be refused, and it was the last straw for town administration to deal with that, and here
They
we
didn't
are,
want to deal with it.
7 years later.
And we're still
how many
playing
years later?
games.
6, sorry. And
7.
Andrew and Leslie are hamstrung by unions, by things that you can't fix. You can't just fix it's not a private company. You can't fix it that easily. And it is difficult for them to get support when certain things come up through town administration and through just the whole process. It isn't just town administration. It's HR issues. It's just everything. Very difficult.
But there's certain things that can be corrected. I believe one of the
Yeah.
things was that Richard Ray was forced out or some such stupidity. He retired. He got to the age, he retired. The way they portrayed it in the editorial was that he was forced out or fired or pushed out or whatever he wants to claim. Not correct. So some of the statements that were made in the editorial, because all she had was one side, were misstatements.
And it's not 1970 anymore. We're a small town. Everybody knows each other. And that's part of this issue, except that it's professional and there's a lot of procedure that has to happen, like a gigantic company would, like a gigantic, you know, whether it's, you know, it doesn't matter. That's how it is. So.
But when all Mary Ann has is some disgruntled employees' backdoor comments,
So.
and she bases that editorial on innuendo and misstatements, we have to stick up for our staff. It's just not appropriate for us to sit back and allow our staff to be attacked without comment.
You know, it's funny too, and Matt, you'll like this. This is my kind of little thing. On one hand, you hear everyone saying we're going too fast, too much building. Then 5 minutes later, we're not going fast enough with building permits. And then 5 minutes later, the Andrew wants is pro growth. 5 minutes later, we're not giving enough building permits. It's sort of
You
like
can't win.
It's like unbelievable when you sort of go back and forth and watch that in writing. It's like, wait a minute, we're flipping and we're flopping and we're flipping and we're flopping. You got builders don't care except if it's their permit. Then you got we don't care about the restaurants. Then it's the poor builders, and then it's like I think we're all in the same boat with regulations and individual personalities and how they feel about things. You know, some people in this town don't like the restaurants. That's fact. And we know who they are. Don't like them.
I don't know
They
anybody
think
who
they're
doesn't
rich.
like them.
No, I'm talking about the way they, they're rich, we're going to keep them under control, the numbers, all that kind of stuff. And it's just not true. Restaurants aren't even making any money till August. It's not an easy business to be in.
Okay, we're off topic here.
Well,
I'd like to
I
get
don't
back
think
to the
we are.
fact that we write a letter
Well,
That's
to the
where it
editor.
started.
So here's a question. I think the planning board is writing a letter.
No, planning commission, they
Planning
work
commission.
for us. They don't work for
Understood.
the planning board.
All right, well,
So I think we need to write a letter and clarify, obviously you all get a copy, but clarify where we can without violating the personnel confidentiality and stick up for our staff.
I think there's a way to do it tactfully, like you said. And-
I'll give you a slightly different take on it. We don't have a quorum, so we can't vote on it tonight. Some of us should
No.
read it.
No, we established the
quorum.
quorum.
She was already
It's
here.
okay.
Okay, well, I'm not comfortable voting on it tonight, number one. Number two, I think, we can stick up for the staff, have one viewpoint. There's a lot of other staff who have a different viewpoint. I think it has been, at times, the transition has been rocky at times. I think there are things, that need to be improved upon. That no one is perfect, and I think sometimes, as much as you want to punch the guy back in the nose, sometimes it's better just to let it go. And I just think wading into this at this point, in my opinion, would be a mistake.
Well, then you need to read it, because it was unconscionable.
Okay, I'll read it.
I've
but I'm
never
just-
seen anything quite
Especially
like
with the
it. I've
weekend.
never seen anything quite like that.
I've had a lot of bad things said.
Oh, of course I have, but not like this, and not based on lies and innuendo.
If you want it up next week time, I'll read it and discuss it knowledgeably then.
Well, we have a meeting on the 20th, right?
20th of February?
Planning board meeting. What's our next meeting?
March 19th?
Yes.
That's too far to go. Can we have since the five of us are going to be at the planning board meeting on the 20th, can we have a short planning commission meeting after you all have read it?
But,
That's-
there isn't a quorum, I mean,
That's Tuesday because of the holiday. Right.
I thought we already established the quorum.
once the person leaves, that's it.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
it was
the
still a
quorum's
quorum.
gone.
Yes, and that's what that's what other people have been doing, just so you know.
Okay,
No, it's-
all right.
Just so you know.
Eleanor needs to know when the person left and when the quorum was
She left at 6:45, because she had to be somewhere at 7.
General discussion.
Okay, I
Okay.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay, I
So
thought it
can
was-
we have a short planning commission meeting, either right at the very beginning? We have two things on our 6 o'clock agenda.
Chairman sets the quorum. It's a 5 o'clock agenda.
5 o'clock?
The
5
meeting's
o'clock.
at 5?
Meeting's at 5, yeah.
Is it 5? I thought that was a different meeting that was going to be at 5. Oh, no, this is the last zoning.
This is our, the
Never
two
mind,
things.
Never mind, that's right. It's at
All right,
5.
can we
It's
do
the
that
2FD.
planning commission meeting?
It's over here.
I can make sure the room's available to you.
No, this is.
No, we already have our regular February 20th meeting. We've already got our room available.
I think we're in the other building.
but
Yeah,
you
I
know
think
what?
we're at 2 Fairgrounds.
Right-of-way committee.
Hold on, I might be able to give you out.
We have not booked it yet.
You're talking about which, February 20th?
Yeah, we have a planning board meeting at 5 o'clock.
We'll see.
We should try to do it over here because there's a right-of-way committee meeting at 4 in the little room. Yeah, in the little room, yeah, it's every Tuesday.
No, unless you get canceled, traffic safety, finance, and then harbor.
All in here?
Fully booked, except for from 12 to 4.
I think our planning board meeting is at
There's 2 Fairgrounds
Fairgrounds, right?
at 5, so right away is going to have to get out.
Says Linda.
Says we own the building.
Not on the calendar. Well, so the date.
Because Catherine hasn't posted it yet.
Yeah, it's definitely over there, Eleanor, because you were doing something, remember? And you said you had to jog back and forth.
Yeah.
Or something.
Over here. Oh, I have HDC and have to go back and forth.
We're not interested in one, nothing's posted on the calendar, doesn't mean it happened, it just isn't booked.
Well,
All right.
we need to have a meeting, it's up to you to set it.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with
That's 5
it.
o'clock.
It's the demand manager.
We only need 2 people to show up, so.
Yeah, at 5 o'clock,
I'm gonna charge more for each room.
So it's the 19th at what time?
20th.
No, the 20th.
20th, which is Tuesday.
Be it like 5, right? Just leave it at 5, Andrew? Okay.
Now,
5 o'clock?
hold on, posting.
I'm just thinking about that.
Monday's a holiday.
Right.
Can't do it.
Well, if Catherine, I think, has already posted our meeting for Tuesday, the planning board meeting. Yeah,
She has?
yeah. I think I talked to her
Okay.
about it this morning.
Yeah, no, we can't. Tomorrow doesn't, because Monday doesn't count.
Right.
You could sharpen your pencils and write the paper again as individuals.
I can't because now I'm running for something.
Uh,
She doesn't print things that are coming from people that are running once they turn their papers in. That's why my letter went in last week.
Oh, so it's on you, Nat.
You on that?
Yikes. Okay.
I can help
Well,
you
we'll just
write- I
have
can
to
help
just
you write it.
talk about it.
But what you need to do is, if you've got comments about once you've read the editorial, just email Andrew. So he's got your comments, at least in one place with Andrew, and Nat can talk to Andrew. But it is no more kumbaya, Nat. I know you
Well.
love the kumbaya, but not on this one.
I didn't say anything.
Well, you said
My way's working better for me than other people's ways, so let's just relax a little bit.
I agree with that.
Read the editorial.
This is one of those things that's so ridiculous that I don't think anybody would agree with it. It's like kind of almost as bad as the how many people can fit on the Nantucket question.
All right, do we have to make a motion to adjourn, or did we adjourn at 6:45?
A second.
We got a second over here? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, did someone make a motion to adjourn?
I did, and then Bert seconded.
Very seconded.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Matt,
done.
Matt got the second in.
Okay. Red Sox. They're not going to get any.
So, Andrew, whatever happens to the stock seats?
Well, your minutes, maybe, yes, you could say, you don't need to have.
Read it first.
Yes,
What I'm saying is that the professionally respond
you did those.
and correct the record, that's all.